no matter how small. Dr. Seuss's famous quote was written for a children's book, and yet this simple adage contains a truth that even many adults refuse to acknowledge today, that of the unmistakable and priceless value of life, both inside and outside of the womb. The topic of this discussion today is life inside the womb and the attack on that life since the development of the medical procedure commonly known as abortion. The controversy over abortion has been a highly debated topic in this country since the United States Supreme Court's ruling of Roe v. Wade in 1973. Abortion is the murdering of a life, or as Dr. Seuss would say, a small person, within the womb of a woman. Abortion is wrong. To understand what abortion has become and why it is so wrong, one must understand abortion's history. The word abortion originally meant miscarriage. This definition has evolved, however, to where it is currently defined as the deliberate termination of a human pregnancy. Medical abortions are a relatively new procedure because of the medical and scientific advancements that have been made within the last 100 years or so. Previous abortion attempts were usually accomplished by the mother taking an abortifacient, which is a drug used to kill the unborn baby. In ages past, few medical abortion procedures were safe, cheap, or even successful, so abortifacients were customary on a global scale. Women in ancient China would take dangerously large amounts of mercury in hopes of killing the new life within them. This practice of taking highly toxic drugs was also common among the ancient Egyptians, Greeks, Romans, and Europeans. Even the ancient Middle Eastern and African societies utilized these practices. Dr. Brian Clowes estimated that more than 1.72 billion babies have been murdered worldwide since 1970. That is almost 30% of our global population, not to mention the millions of unrecorded abortions ensuing every year through birth control pills, spermicide agents, implants, injectables, and IUDs. The world map shows that millions of murdered babies through abortion in 2008. 43.8 million is a very heavy toll. The table at the right shows and compares the numbers and rates of induced abortions on a global scale during the years 1995, 2003, and 2008. As you can see, the numbers have decreased very little from 1995. This is something we need to change. Nationally, nearly 60 million babies have been killed through abortion since 1973. Here's the good news. Compared with 2009, the abortion total has decreased by 3%. But here's the bad news. Last year, there was still an estimated 1.1 million abortions. That's about 3,000 abortions every day. These statistics are staggering to be sure. America is one of the leading world economies and societies to which other nations look to for guidance. Would it not be better to use this influence to impact the world positively instead of negatively? As a state, California remains very liberal with its abortion laws and does not have any abortion restrictions such as waiting periods, mandated parental involvement, or limitations on publicly funded abortions. This graph here shows California's average abortion rate is much higher than the United States as a whole. According to the Guttmacher Institute, abortions in California represent 17.2% of all abortions in the U.S., which means that the state of California has hosted more than 10 million abortions since Roe v. Wade. Locally, there are both pro-life and pro-choice services offered. In Yuba City, there is a Planned Parenthood organization. Planned Parenthood is a well-known pro-choice abortion organization which offers many abortion services, including the abortion pill, post-abortion follow-up exams, and referrals for other abortion services. Margaret Sanger, the founder of Planned Parenthood, was quoted for saying, "The most merciful thing that a large family does to one of its infant members is to kill it." As the youngest of 5 children in my family, I'm certainly glad that my parents didn't listen to any of Margaret Sanger's homicidal ideas. Thankfully, however, in Marysville, a nearby city, there exists a crisis pregnancy center appropriately titled A Woman's Friend. This center is a recognized pro-life organization that offers a multitude of services and programs at no charge to their clients. These amenities include pregnancy testing, ultrasounds, referrals, counseling, community referrals, and baby clothes for newborns. When I personally interviewed Caroline Dodds, the executive director of a woman's friend in Marysville, she told me, "Our relationship with our clients is one of a friendship. We want them to know that there is hope and that they have someone they can go to in their time of need." Abortion not only affects the murdered life of the baby and affects the forever changed life of the mother, but society as well is also very negatively affected, both socially and economically. Legalized abortion encourages sexual activity outside of marriage, which in turn causes more abortions. According to the CDC, 85% of abortions are by unmarried mothers. These unwed mothers change their sexual behavior. This change of sexual activity would not have occurred had abortion not been legalized. The economic impact of abortion in America is just as disturbing. With the statistics available, one can determine that over 50 million additional people would be a part of the current labor force today. Legalizing abortion has caused a loss of approximately $100 billion of valued work each year in the United States. The Bible takes a very clear stand against abortion. Exodus 20:13 says, "Thou shalt not kill." It doesn't get much clearer than that. God himself is the creator of human life and has a purpose for each one. Jeremiah 1:5 says, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart." God's involvement in the creation of every human being is very personal, and each individual is uniquely designed by the Lord himself. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him. These verses clearly establish God's pro-life attitude, leaving no question. Life inside and outside the womb is precious. Interestingly, a fact that is little known today is that the early Christian church was heavily pro-life right from the start. The 12 apostles wrote a treatise known as the Didache before the end of the 1st century, unmistakably condemning abortion by describing 2 ways. There are 2 ways, the way of life and the way of death, and the difference between these 2 ways is great. Therefore, do not murder a child by abortion or kill a newborn infant. In the church today, however, there are differing opinions about abortion. I have personally interviewed several pastors of the mainstream denominational churches in today's society and thus have been educated about their standpoint on abortion. The Roman Catholic Church believes abortion is wrong. The Eastern Orthodox Church claims it has always condemned abortion. At Grace Baptist, the church I attend, the pastor speaks for himself as well as the denomination in stating that abortion is wrong in any and every situation. Pastors from both the Methodist and Presbyterian churches in town, however, declare abortion to be a tough subject, believing abortion to be acceptable depending on the situation. This belief is known as situational ethics. The question begs, when does life begin? The answer is resounding. The beginning of life is at conception. This is proven and supported by science. The American Heritage Science Dictionary defines conception as the formation of a zygote from the union of a sperm and egg cell, fertilization. For reference, a zygote is the first stage of a human baby. This may be controversial from a political perspective, but the sciences of embryology and genetics leave no doubt as to when human life begins. In addition to abortion being a blatant moral wrong, the procedures used to accomplish abortions are extremely inhumane. During the first trimester, the usual abortion procedure is the process of sucking and scraping the baby out of the uterus. Also used during the first trimester are chemicals which detach the baby from the womb or kill it directly. During the second trimester, most commonly, the baby is ripped apart and its skull is crushed. If the baby does come out alive, it is merely set aside to die on its own, or the abortionist will see to it. The third trimester tactics are similar, except for the fact that the baby must be soaked with deadly chemicals before, making it easier to pull apart the body. There are many more details of the abortion process. However, I do not wish to discuss them because of how sickening they are. In view of this, or perhaps in spite of this, many people deny that babies feel pain until 23 weeks or so, making these procedures justifiable. However, Dr. Maureen Kondik states that the neural circuitry responsible for the most primitive response to pain is in place by 8 weeks of development, confirming that a fetus responds just as post-womb humans do, by withdrawing from the painful stimulus. This cutie is an advertisement for the pro-life across America organization with the message reading, "The point is, you had fingerprints at 9 weeks from conception." Since abortion is not the solution, what is the solution of unwanted pregnancies? To women and men alike, I counsel abstinence until marriage, for truly the only safe sex is married sex. If you feel you cannot raise a child, give the baby up for adoption. Many couples unable to have children would love to adopt your baby. Or you could always raise the child you bear, as the baby has become your responsibility. Finally, God calls you to stand up and fight for those who cannot. Speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves, for the rights of all who are destitute. In view of this, one cannot truly deny Dr. Seuss's famous words, "A person is a person, no matter how small." One must conclude that abortion is appallingly horrible and is, in essence, the world's most devastating, in numbers alone, modern-day Holocaust. Thankfully, though, it is stoppable. The more people that take a stand against it, the more the killing will cease. Together, changing hearts and minds while laboring to overturn the Roe v. Wade Supreme Court decision will ensure and protect life for all. I challenge you to bring back that value of life that seems to have disappeared in our nation. Though this task may seem daunting and even impossible, Jesus Christ, the Son of the Most High God, provides great reassurance in saying, "With man, this is impossible, but with God, all things are possible." Thank you. Any questions?